Oh, what is good, y'all? I'm back with another video. I've been wanting to make another video since the last two, and I had a lot of fun making the last two, but I felt like a lot of the internet drama that was going on just wasn't interesting to me. Also, there just wasn't a lot of stuff going on. Like, there was a whole thing with, like, Convy getting shot, but I don't really know Convy at all like that. Like, I don't really watch him or care much about his streams, so it just didn't make sense for me to talk about that shit. But actually today some news started coming out, some things that I low-key want to talk about, so those might be like next upcoming videos. But today we're going to be talking about the top G, the alpha man, the alpha, the hustler, the top dog. I'm talking about Andrew Tate. If you don't know who Andrew Tate is, I'm pretty sure you do, but a couple of years ago this guy was all over the internet. Like, this guy started an epidemic of incels, like everywhere. Everybody wanted to be like this guy. Everybody wanted, not everybody, okay, I didn't want to be like this guy. A lot of normal people didn't want to be like this guy, okay? But Andrew Tate was just this guy who had very extreme views on the world of how a man should be. He was a very misogynistic person. He was really, really big a couple of years ago, but I feel like as of late, at least maybe in the last year or two, he definitely like fell off. I don't know, I feel like the whole red pill movement has definitely died down quite a lot, but he was like one of the founding fathers of that whole movement, if I'm not gonna lie. But recently he got into a boxing match with a social media star, or maybe not a social media star, but I think this guy was on a dating show called Too Hot to Handle on Netflix, called his name is Chase Damore. Okay, I don't really know how this whole thing happened. I just know that Chase Damore has had a couple boxing matches in the past with the whole Misfits boxing shit. And from the only highlights that I've seen, he's not the best boxer in the world. I mean, yeah, some of his clips are laughably bad, but there was a whole thing between these guys, like an online beef, and apparently, you know, obviously, they finally had confirmed the match. Andrew Tate has been talking about for years how he was like a kickboxing champion, and he was just he's a top G, you know, he can fight, he's like just peak male, you know, all this blah 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 blah. The fight was coming up, they talk shit. A lot of people were betting on Andrew Tate to beat Chase Damore, despite the fact that this guy is like jacked and much taller than Tate. Actually, I don't know if he's that much taller, but the guy is like jacked, right? But I will say, okay, when it comes to fights and things like that, having a lot of muscle doesn't necessarily always mean that you're gonna win the fight, okay? A lot of juice heads, for example, like, no, not juice heads, but people who are really buff and shit and work out purely for muscle and don't really like fight. For example, Bradley Martin, think that they can take on the entire world when it's, you know, it's not true. But they had this fight, and unfortunately, you know, well, unfortunately for Andrew Tate, the outcome was not what he had said it was going to be.
And still, the Misfits Boxing Heavyweight Champion of the World!
So yeah, Andrew Tate lost the fight, okay? This, I don't know how big of news this was. Honestly, I heard about it like once, and then everybody moved on from it. This happened like last month, I'm pretty sure. So if you already heard about this, and I know I'm late to this is just something I wanted to talk about since I first heard about it. So I'm late to the party. I know. But what I really wanted to show was the amount, just Tate's reaction after his loss to this guy, because he took it as gracefully as somebody could, you know, and that's what I kind of wanted to check out today.
Understand that you are going to be introduced to my right hand, and the whole world is going to laugh at you.
He really believes that I'm some dickhead who's just agreed to a fight and not taking it seriously and sparred people shorter than me, and that I'm stupid, and then he's gonna get in there and hit me with a right hand. Oh, a right hand! I didn't know you could use right hands in boxing. I haven't prepared for a right hand. I only thought he was going to use the left. Oopsie fucking doopsie.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, this is like the most dead press conference I've ever seen for a boxing match, like ever. I remember a couple of years ago, back when like Jake had just started, getting his first couple boxing matches in, a lot of people wanted Andrew Tate and Jake Paul to box, and fucking Tate was consistently saying like he was gonna shit on Jake and blah blah blah. You could tell that the hype to see Andrew Tate box has gone down dramatically because this fucking conference is dead. Like, everything they said throughout it was horrible. And I mean, this is also on Chase's part. Throughout the entire press conference, Andrew is constantly like on Chase's ass about how like he needs to get better clips and he needs to say better shit so they can like sell the fight better, and it's just like not working. I don't know if Chase is just really bad at talking for these like face-offs kind of thing, but that was really fucking bad. Honestly, the whole thing would have been a lot more entertaining if Andrew just got in front of the stage and just did one of his old classic performances, just the beauty when he used to do this type of shit, he honestly, if he did that shit in the middle of the fight, that probably would have gotten a lot more people watching that shit than, how nobody really gave a fuck about the fight. But this shit would have upped the numbers for real. Okay, I know it's not Andrew Tate, but maybe it is. We don't know that. Maybe it is. But anyways, now let's actually get into like the post fight shit and everything that kind of like happened, mostly with like Andrew's reaction to everything.
Respect for Chase. I have no excuses. Yeah, obviously I didn't get the result I wanted, but truthfully the result I wanted was to see if I could still do it. 40 years old, 10 years retired, a little bit of time in a Romanian dungeon. It was always going to be a big ask against someone so much bigger than me, younger than me, more active than me, but I wanted a real challenge. I felt like I won the first 2 rounds. But then because he's 20 kilo heavier, he started leaning on me and sapped some energy. Unfortunately, a 40-year-old's not a 22-year-old.
After a fight, this is honestly not a bad response at all. Like, if he just left it at this, it would have been like completely fine. Sometimes you just gotta own up to your losses, man. Like, I feel like when in life, when you lose, especially something like this, it's okay to admit it. Like, you lost, the other person was the better man. Maybe you weren't doing your best, and that's completely fine. You just gotta do better next time. Or sometimes just the cards are against you. Sometimes the other person is better. It's just life. It's completely fine to admit that, you lost. And this was a perfect response. It was great. I mean, there's some things he said, but still, they weren't the best, but still, it would have been great if he left it at that. But then he kept talking more. After that, he went on his own YouTube or his stream or whatever, and he talked about the whole thing.
If I didn't get tired, I would have won. I'm a better boxer. I didn't have to do this fight camp, I could have just said, no, I'm not doing any fight camps. I'm too old. I've been retired for too long. I'm just going to eat food and drive cars and party, be famous and be rich like every other guy. And this day would have come anyway.
Not only did he lose, and he's not taking the losses gracefully as we thought, but he has to remind us about how rich he is. And despite him, taking the fight or not, he would have been doing the same thing. He'd be rich. He'd have his yachts. He'd have his cars. He'd have the women. He'd have everything that we don't have. But it's Andrew Tate. Of course, he can't go one day without bragging about some bullshit that he has.
Yes, it's a big risk. Yes, he's younger than me. Yes, he's more active than me. Yes, he's heavier than me. Yes, he's taller than me. A win is forever, and a loss is temporary. He just beat me. I don't even know, I've not yet had time to process why he beat me.
You're out of your prime. The guy's younger. You're like 40 or 50. I don't know how old you are. You haven't fought in like 10 years. Maybe you weren't that great of a fighter as you thought. I don't know. There's many reasons why you probably lost. You already mentioned some of them yourself. But, maybe you just weren't meant to lose. Maybe the script went differently.
I got tired after the second round, and I don't know why. The first and second round, he couldn't touch me. If I didn't get tired, I would have won. I'm a better boxer. But I did get tired. Maybe it's ring rust. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe he's too heavy and he kept leaning on me. I don't know why, but he beat me.
You said it yourself, man. You're older now. Maybe you just didn't do enough conditioning. He is a much younger guy. He's got a lot more stamina probably than you do right now at your big age of like 45 or however old you are. It's fine to admit a defeat.
He earned it. And I'm not going to take that away from him with excuses, talking about rematches, making up bullshit about how he grabbed me or some crap.
You know, and much respect on that. The guy beat you fair and square. He definitely earns the respect, you know? He for sure earned your respect. The guy beat you, and that's it. You lost. So, honestly, big ups that you're not going to make any excuses. I 100% respect you for that, Tate. I don't respect you as a human being, but I respect you for saying this, for sure.
If I want to get spiritual about all of this, that there are forces larger than us people that exist. Why did I get tired? I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, brother. There goes the respect you just earned from me. Great. I'm throwing that shit out the window. Why did I speak this fucking soon, man?
The only thing that makes sense is that I was not supposed to win. Maybe the win means more to Chase than it would have mean to me. Maybe Chase couldn't handle the loss. Maybe God decided, you know what, Chase has been through enough with mocking and things on the internet. Chase doesn't need the loss right now.
So after clearly saying that he wasn't going to make excuses for, you know, his loss and the fact that he lost to Chase Demore, a guy that's much bigger and younger than him, after saying all this shit, I'm not going to make excuses, that guy deserved to win, he immediately starts talking about how maybe God didn't want him to win the fight. Brother, how are you going to say I'm not making excuses? Hold on, let me start making excuses. What the fuck?
Andrew can handle the loss better. Maybe God decided. Maybe if I won, we would have went out and celebrated that night, and Tristan would have smoked a bunch of cigars, and maybe he would have died 1 minute earlier. And maybe I get an extra minute with my brother because I lost. I'm not gonna bitch, I'm not gonna complain, and I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna...
This is your definition of taking a fucking loss? You cannot handle the fact that you lost to some guy that was on a fucking Netflix dating show, that you start actually somehow making this about how God didn't want you to win because maybe there was a possibility that if God won, you would have celebrated with your brother and he would have died? What is wrong with this guy, man?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This is the craziest amount of cope I've ever seen to a loss. Like, the amount of excuses he was throwing out there is crazy. How, oh my god, how did this guy ever lead, like, incels on the internet? It's fucking insane, man. I have never had respect for this dude. You guys know, this guy a couple years ago, I said this earlier, but he literally led an epidemic of incels. It's actually fucking insane. I actually kind of lost a friendship because of this guy. I had a friend who also fell into the Andrew Tate like rabbit hole, and like, you know, like the whole fresh and fit shit where he started, which is crazy because he wasn't like an incel. He was a guy that could actually, he was dating people and shit like that, but for some reason at some point he found out about Andrew Tate and just fell under like his spell, basically. He even at one point got like the Hustlers University course and all this shit like that, and started thinking of himself as a hustler, and then started talking shit about me and my other friends who were also his friends behind our backs because he didn't believe that we were hustlers like him, and basically how Andrew Tate was talking. Unfortunately, this whole thing I feel is what caused me and this friend to drift apart, which kind of sucks because this guy and I used to be super close, but I 100% blame Andrew Tate for that whole thing. I've never been a fan of this guy's views. He's just not a good person. He's a horrible dude, but it's crazy that this is the top G, man. This is the guy that everybody looked to. I saw so many people like prior to this fight, actually not that many people because like I said, the fight wasn't that hyped to begin with, but I saw a lot of people saying that Andrew Tate was gonna mop the floor with Chase Demore with this pretty boy over here, and look what fucking happened. He got cooked. I'm not gonna put it, but there was actually a shot of him getting rocked and he was bleeding. I'm talking about Andrew Tate, and yeah, now this guy can't even handle the loss, and I don't even know how like some people are coping with the fact that their top G, their alpha dog, their king has finally fucking lost. I'm sure he's lost before, but you know, like now for the world to see, he lost. It was like, I can't imagine, it's probably like their king going down. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, like I said, I know I'm late to this shit. I got more videos coming. This is just something I wanted to talk about because I wasn't doing YouTube videos like this when Andrew Tate was at his peak and his prime, so I'm talking about him now. But other than that, I hope y'all have a great day. Peace.
Giây phút em gặp anh để thương, giây phút em gặp anh